What I struggle with the most? Well, in what regard? Do you mean like psychologically or societally? Psychologically? Well, I have hallucinations if that's what you're asking me. Now, I should preface by saying I'm fortunate in that I don't experience them nearly to the degree that I used to, and I don't have them as frequently as some other people do. But I still have them, and mainly what I'll see are things like the walls and the floors start to do this kind of breathing, pulsating motion, and shadows will grow and start to kind of like skate around. I see flashing lights, and if I look at anything with an intricate pattern, let's say a decorative rug, for example, the patterns will start to swirl around. Those don't really debilitate me so much. I mean, they're not pleasant by any means, but I can usually cope with it because typically when I see that kind of stuff going on, I'm aware that I'm hallucinating. The hallucinations that really do freak me out are the ones where it's something that actually could happen in real life, but I can't decipher whether or not it's actually happening. For example, one of the big ones for me is people watching me or staring at me. And then there's things that I see that, in my opinion, are not hallucinations, but others would consider to be, um, such as spiritual things, visions, um, revelations, but I guess I shouldn't go too much into that. And I also hear voices. I don't experience so much of the negative, evil voices. It's mostly just chatter in my head. And I do hear the voice of God, but that isn't really like hearing with your ears. I don't know how to explain. Truthfully speaking, I struggle much more with the cognitive aspects of the disease. For example, my memory is totally shot, and that's long term and short term. And I have horrible perception of time, to the degree that several days or weeks or months could go by and I wouldn't have any idea. Information overload is a big one. Yeah. Information overload, and that's really not easy because my brain just malfunctions and I shut down and dissociate. Sometimes it's hard to come back. Um, I feel like my brain works 50 times faster than my mouth can keep up with, so that causes me to stutter at times. And I occasionally have trouble when I'm speaking to others because for me, my brain is just always going, 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 going. I mean, it feels like I'm constantly being hit with 1,000 trains of thought all at once. And I was not created with an on-off switch. So when I'm having a conversation, my mind will go from here to here to here to here. And to me, it all makes sense, but the other person has no idea what I'm talking about because I'm talking about like 8 things all at once. I've more or less learned how to cope with all of this, and it isn't easy, but it is what it is. Um, the one thing I would say though that has been very difficult to deal with is when reality starts to shift And for me, I can see and feel clear shifts in reality when they happen. It almost feels like different realities, or some people would say dimensions, they collide with our own. The laws of physics start to not exist. Doesn't mean I go into another reality. I'm still very much present, at least physically, but I don't know how to explain it. There's a lot of things that I see that there are no words to articulate. Do I think the schizophrenic brain is defective? That was your question? Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, it is true that it is a neurological brain disease, and a lot of people don't know this, but yes, it is very much a neurological disorder, much like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. However, I don't think that that necessarily makes us defective. In fact, I believe schizophrenic people, we see so much more than the average person can even begin to comprehend. And to call us defective or say that our minds are defective, that just perpetuates a very negative, discriminatory attitude that society still, for some reason, is allowed to have on us. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is we are still treated like deranged animals. That goes for society and, more specifically, healthcare. The reason that many of us are so hesitant to seek help is because most of us have had horrific experiences in doing that. The one time I sought help, well, I was first kept in a black, tiny room for 3 days and held against my will, forcefully medicated against my will, and physically brutalized by the staff. And then after that, I was sent to a state mental health facility, which I don't know which one was better or worse, because at least at the facility I could move around, but I was still being forcefully drugged against my will. I couldn't leave. I was made to eat off the floor. No right to privacy. You know, the whole reason I volunteered myself for this project was because I wanted to be part of some change in society in order to bring more awareness to this disease. And I wanted to be someone who could potentially give an authentic point of view to help fully nullify the gross amount of misinformation that's out there that perpetuates this just ridiculous outlook that people have on us. I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but something I struggle with internally, spiritually, is asking God, why did you make me like this? Why did you stick me here on this reality that I can't leave until you deem it so? But I have to remember that God made me this way for a purpose. So perhaps that purpose is to be part of some project that sheds light upon my situation and the situation of many other people.